And ladies and gentlemen, you came here to eavesdrop and you were expecting to find us talking about, hey, how are you feeling? We're talking about this thing because Facebook has changed a couple of things and we didn't come earlier. We were talking about that. We should be 10 minutes earlier, but hey.
Live and learn. So we will be doing that. I mean, if we learned nothing in 2020, it's that things change every minute, which has always been the truth. I just think we've been in this kind of illusion that things don't change quite as quickly, but I think the reality is things are constantly changing, and to keep up we have to be intentional.
But we did come up here. We used to come up here 10 minutes earlier. We got to become professionals, and then
that's what happens.
That's what happens, you know.
You get lax. You think you're professional. So there's a story about that. I was actually telling this story yesterday at an event. My first event in a year and a half, where I was face to face with a bunch of people other than close friends and family. So God, that felt good. And it was funny because it was in Raleigh, and I got there and I had to parallel park. And as I'm parallel parking, I become aware of the fact, like, I don't think I've parallel parked in 2 years. But it's like riding a bike. You know, you don't. I was good. I got in, no problem.
Correct.
But so I was telling this one guy, you know, on the whole thing, you know, so my previous career, for those of you who don't know, is I was an educator, you know, so I have my master's in curriculum development and instruction. And I worked at a few schools where I would create the lower school elementary French program and run it. And so my last gig was at an all boys school in Baltimore. And so I remember showing up, and I remember vividly, you know, showing up, and you kind of have that, not that it was cocky, but it was, you know, I had made a name for myself, you know, I was cherry picked, you know, for this position, that kind of thing. And, you know, so I go in there thinking, well, I've got all this under my belt. I'll just use a lot of what I've already done and tweak it a bit for the needs of this particular school and stuff. Oh no. That's not how it went down. So I because, you know, the thing is, for those people who don't know much about education, the typical standard education that we know, you go into public schools, is geared towards the learning of girls from a general perspective. Boys are usually on average much more kinesthetic learners, right? Wow. I'm a girl, but I'm a kinesthetic learner too. And that's why I really had a hard time in school, because I learned from physically moving and doing.
Gotcha.
And so, you know, sitting quietly and doing as you're told and paying attention, and that tends to be more of a female-based learning style than male. And so, you know, these boys, like, forget about, like, sit down, be quiet, like, forget about it. Like, they can't stop, you know, so-and-so, why are you moving in your chair? Like, because they've been sitting too long. So I had to completely rewrite and redo how I did everything. And it was the best learning experience, because one, it taught me, as soon as you think you know, you don't know. And two, to be flexible and to be truly curious and a consummate learner, you have to always be at that place of starting over.
Correct.
Right? You have to be at least ready to do that. And it wasn't as hard on me when I looked at it as a positive challenge, you know, as opposed to, oh God, you know, it's gonna be so hard, I'm gonna have to relearn everything. You know, if I'd been telling myself that story, it would not have been a fun endeavor. But the fact it was like, okay, all right, I just got served. Like, let me step back for a second. Let me, you know, humble myself and learn and grow. And, you know, honestly, I think that was the most fun I had. I mean, not to say I didn't enjoy my other, you know, experiences at other schools, but that piece alone taught me so much.
I think, you know, what we're saying here is, you know, even if you're pro, you have to stick to the fundamentals. And the fundamentals in eavesdrop is us coming 10 minutes ahead of time and saying, okay, hold up, everything's set, because the systems we're depending on change every single day. And we're coming here every 2 weeks, right? Even though we're doing other things with Facebook or with social media, but it's not with this particular social media platform. So we become complacent and say, oh, we come in 5 minutes, because when we come on, we pray, how are you, Tracy? How are you? We chit chat. So we did that, talked about 1 or 2 things, and then, okay, everything's going to be the same way. But boom, Facebook changes something, and I go, what is this? I think the key, and the key is, as we are hit, even if we don't stick to the fundamentals, and we're pros, so-called pros. When I say so-called pros in this particular thing we're doing, we're professionals. When you are hit with the, as you said, with the okey doke, right? And you go, oh, what's happening? The ability to pivot, the ability to adapt to it. Because I'm thinking, oh my goodness, it's 1 o'clock. We told them 1 o'clock. Is that part of you that is accountable to the people you said I will be there? But there are some times where you can't be there at 1. So you still pivot, and as you're pivoting, you still respect. I respect you, Heather, who was here looking like, where are they?
Yeah. Well, and it's happened other times too, I know.
Thank you for coming, Heather, and all others who are silently watching. Come on, put something in the comment. Ask a question, please. We respect you, and I think that the idea is, don't be so professional that you can't, that you ignore, that you stay in the fundamentals. 1, 2. Don't be so professional that when you come in that you're so high and mighty that you don't apologize and say, I respect those who I'm serving, because without the people you're serving, you're nothing. You're
For
nothing.
sure. Well, there's something I want to say about that, because, for me, accountability is about not getting too comfortable where you end up in a state of mediocrity all the time.
Ooh, tell it.
Right. And that's a big, when I look out into the world, I see a lot of that. Like, I was just talking to a client about that this morning. I said, a lot of times when someone doesn't get somewhere on time, like we did today, we could sit there and say, oh, it's because Facebook had changed things or whatever. I mean, how many times do we all do that as an excuse to the fact we weren't intentional enough to show up early in case there were changes we needed to get ahead of?
Correct.
And what happens, and I asked him this, I said, what happens usually when somebody shows up and says to you, let's say, oh, I'm so sorry I'm late, this happened, that happened. What is almost always the response that you get? That's okay.
Me? Oh, gotcha.
That's okay. And I said, if we are conveying and inviting people, and I don't believe in convincing. I'm not here to convince anybody of anything. Everybody has their own sovereign brain that they get to use and reason with and decide what's good for them. I am not here to convince anybody of anything. To me, that's manhandling, and I don't do that. But I do believe in conveying and inviting, right? This is my message I would love to convey to you. And I invite you, to engage or ask questions or whatever, totally up to you. Yeah. But what are we conveying and inviting people to do when they are taking ownership of something that, a misstep, and we say, it's okay. It's okay, you misstepped. Yes, it's okay. But what they're trying to say is, they're trying to go in the direction of, I'm sorry, potentially, I won't do it again, or I'll work on it next time, or I'll do better next time, or whatever. But when we say it's okay, we basically make it okay. What we're conveying is, it's okay to disregard me. What we're conveying is, it's okay to show up late. What we're conveying is, no big deal. My time isn't worth anything, right? What we're inviting people to do is the same thing next time. And words are so powerful. We don't even consciously think about it this way. We're inviting people to disregard us when we say, it's okay. I'm not saying we should beat up on them, but we say, thank you for addressing that, or thank you for mentioning that, or thank you, just thank you. We don't have to give them a hard time. But when we say, that's okay, and we try to make them feel better about that, we hold people in that pattern. And that becomes mediocrity. And over time, you start to get what we have now, which is the ghosting problem that you're seeing everywhere, where people just drop off. And that is so dishonoring. It's so dishonoring. And people say, well, I didn't have the time. It's like, then don't engage. Yeah. It's not okay. Yes. How much of a high threshold for okayness over things that aren't truly okay? I mean, honestly, when I ask people, I get this a lot with clients, I ask them something, they're like, but it's okay. They'll give me this huge thing that they're complaining about. And then at the end, they'll say, but it's okay.
Yes, yes,
I'm
yes.
like, you're really going to make that okay? Clearly it's not okay because you just spent the, last 5 minutes telling me how it
Correct,
wasn't okay.
correct, correct.
We don't even realize we're doing it. And I'm not coming down on people. I'm just trying to make this a passionate plea that we need to be thinking about what we're conveying and inviting people to with our words.
Yeah. So I have to address something Heather said, then I'll remind me of sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. And that's another one. I'm sorry that we usually, it's okay. And I'm sorry. So Heather says, what about those that don't apologize for their lateness? Oh my goodness. Baseball bat to the knee, she says. Bill goes, ghosting is rude. And you're right, Heather. They come in and expect you to be sitting there waiting for them. It's that entitlement maybe where they have the answer to your problem, right? Or even your counterparts and the familiarity with you, and they come in, hey girl, what's going on? And like, hey, you're late. You're late.
So I don't
Respect my
understand.
time,
I'm sorry,
right?
I didn't mean to interrupt. So I don't quite understand the point. Like, what was the question, or what was
No, it
Heather's
wasn't a,
statement?
it was, those that don't apologize for their lateness, they
Right.
just come in and don't respect you, right?
Right.
Um,
Well, that's the same thing about the, conveying and inviting. How do
mhm.
we respectfully and graciously let people know it's not okay?
Correct, correct.
How? I mean, I'm asking a legitimate question. I know how I tend to do that when I'm not making it okay. I do this as well. I catch myself, probably more often than I want to,
Yeah.
trying to, we are, especially as women, but I don't want to just make it a gender thing,
Mhm.
is to make people feel better, to nurture them. We could tell when somebody's upset or they're trying, which I don't like the word trying. You either do or you don't. And it's okay. It's okay. Like, you're either going to do it or not. But don't try. Like, you can't try, I can't try to pick up a pencil. Like, I'm either doing it or I'm not. And some people say I'm trying, and or you sense that they're trying and you want to just, like, that's carrying the burdens again. We reach out, emotionally, to make them feel better about their decision to be late.
Yes,
And
yes,
again, what are we conveying and
yes,
inviting people to
yeah.
do? And I'm saying this as much for me, like, y'all, when I start getting passionate, it's because it has a lot to do with what's going on in my life and what I
Mhm.
need to be reminding myself of.
Correct,
So
correct.
I'm quite aware.
You know,
Yeah.
you talk about it. It's okay factor, and I'm gonna bring in the I'm sorry, right? The I'm sorry, and so I have to respect the commenters. I'm gonna come back to I'm sorry. Heather goes, especially from upper management, understanding that they are busy. However, we are here to serve our people. Let's flip the org chart upside down. And
That's a
Bill
good point.
goes, I try to imagine every interaction as if it was a person face to face. It changes your perception and behaviors. Great, great,
Mhm.
great one. But
Those are great points. Yeah, the leadership one, each one, I
correct.
want to just give a moment to, because I think, if we're talking leadership, which both you and I work in that arena,
Mhm.
you know, that is a changing paradigm for sure. I think the companies that are really doing well and innovating and growing are the ones that do understand leadership is a supportive role, not a, come wash my feet role,
Oh, correct.
and
Correct.
so it's really this leading from behind concept. How can I support my people? How can I build my people up? That's really what we're here to do as leaders. And so where our behavior and attitudes are not reflecting that, we get to look at how that's impacting the culture of our company, which absolutely impacts the bottom line.
Oh,
If
big
people don't
time.
think that, some people say, well, it's a huge successful company and it's a terrible place to work. How did they get so successful? Well, they did in an old paradigm. I'm telling you that those companies are not going to continue to have the same
Mm-mm,
degree of success moving forward. And so if
mm-mm.
you're a leader out there and you think that's how you have to lead because that's how you got successful before, just watch. That's
Yeah.
going to happen. That's going to change really quick. Besides the fact that I can't imagine anybody feels good doing that to other people. I can't imagine, when we really get real with ourselves, that feels good.
sis, that's another topic.
Yeah.
Because some people, the way they were raised, that they don't have the empathy, they don't have that aspect in their human nature to do it. But when you say it's okay, we talk about I'm sorry. So I'm sorry is another one where we go, we're walking and we do the, oh, are you going left? Are you going right? That shifting that occurs and go, oh, I'm sorry. Or the person is behind you. They know you don't see them and you're backing up with the cart. This is what I'm doing. I'm not doing a car because it's hard to say I'm sorry with cars. And you're backing up. And instead of them moving, they wait until you bump them and go, oh, oh, oh. Then you say, oh, I'm sorry. And they saw you coming. It's the I'm sorry with you're talking and you're saying you're conveying something, and the person may do a face or do something in you. So Mr. EQ or Miss EQ, IQ, whatever you want to put it, emotionally intelligent, right? And you go, oh, did I? And you try to change your tone or change what you're saying. And you're not sorry. You're not sorry about any one of those things. So what I'm finding out, because this is about us talking about us, about what's going on in our heads. I tend to just be blank and just because I'm sorry, I don't have a reply for I'm sorry in those cases. I just go left or right. Okay, and I go right. If I'm speaking and I'm seeing it and I'm seeing the face go, I'll continue what I'm saying. And at the end, I said, I observed your face went as if you were confused or didn't understand something. How can I correct, not correct, how can I better communicate it to you if you don't understand? What didn't you understand? Those things in life, that intentionality, when we
Yes.
become intentional, when you become intentional, which means that you are thinking from here to there, you remember last week we talked about processing, when you get not reacting. When you process your mind stuff before it comes to your mouth, through your mouth, um, you are intentional about it. There was a situation years ago with my brother. There are two things that someone says there's the right way to do it, and then there's a peaceful way to do it. With age and wisdom, I think I go with peaceful. But at the age I went with what was right. And right is very,
Negotiable.
no, right
Based on
is,
personal perspective.
no, but no,
Illusionary.
but
I can use the word
morality comes in. If
again.
in the situation, I said to myself, if I had to do it again, I would do it the identical way. But now, 10, 15 years later, with maturity and with wisdom, what I saw, what occurred with me doing it right, I say to myself now, gosh, right was right. But peaceful for me is better than right.
It's
In
about
in
focus
this
on
case.
it's on focus on the why, right? So what's the long game?
Mm,
Usually when we're younger, we're in the short game, right? We're running the now game. Right now, I need to be right. When we get older with perspective and wisdom, we realize we're really in for the long game, right? What is going to best affect the overall outcome,
mm,
not just the moment, right? And I think that is what perspective brings. That is what experience brings to the table.
yeah.
Some people are able to do that earlier in their lives because of their personality and various things that they've learned, and been exposed to.
Mm-hmm.
But I think in general, we're real hot and come out like short-term gain when we're younger, and then eventually start to recognize through, again, life experiences and perspective, that
Yeah.
we're here for the greater good. Like, it isn't just about the me, it's about the
Mm,
we. And some people, to your point, never get that. I mean, I do believe that the nature of the human being is geared towards empathy. And this is precisely why that I'm sorry tends to come out of people's mouths before they catch themselves, is because we read people's energy before we read everything else. And part of energy is emotion, right? So when we're reading people's emotion, and let's say they are legitimately sorry, well, the first thing we want to do is we want to go in and we want to hold their burden because we've been conditioned to do that. We've talked all about this variety of different previous chats, right?
Correct.
And so, it's like, oh, I'm sorry you're feeling that way. Why are we sorry? First of all, there should be no sorry. Somebody's emotion is a teaching tool. It's information. It's a good thing, even if it's a bad feeling, right? So we shouldn't feel sorry that someone's going through something. We can be, with them in spirit. We can be with them in heart. We can be with them. I'm sorry for your loss. Let's say a girlfriend of mine from college just lost her father. I try to be careful not to say I'm sorry, or I may be sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
Which is true. I'm sorry to hear the news. But I'm not, I can't say I'm sorry if I didn't do anything to create something. And it's not for me to say that isn't an experience people are choicefully going through from a soul perspective. And so I think, again, it's
Traci,
with age and perspective, we gain this larger understanding of what it's all about.
Traci,
and the longer go.
I want to stop you. I want to stop you because it's going to hit. I'm about to say something. I'm about to comment that's going to hit I think it's going to hit who you are in terms of what you know about language. Do you think that we're so lazy with words? That's why we go, I'm sorry, and it's okay. Do you think it's our lack of vocabulary? Do you think it's a lack of how some people, could be us in certain cases, in not in most or all cases, that we don't know the right words to convey? That's why we be lazy and just say the quick, easy get out.
I think that's a symptom. Not having the right language is a symptom of the greater core issue, which is not taking time to process.
Because I can still speak my ABC words through my process and convey what I am feeling. And sister, let's drop the mic.
Yeah, we don't. I mean, the biggest thing I find in my work and just in life is people don't take the time to process. Especially now, we're a very reactionary society. Like everything is boom, 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 boom. And I think that's come from living a fast-paced lifestyle. Thankfully, one thing, 2020 did was it slowed us way down. And more people than ever have said to me, gosh, I really took time to take stock. I've processed, there's things I got rid of, all of this. I mean, that's what happens when we process. That's what happens when we take time to reflect and really basically connect the dots within us. When we don't take time to connect the dots, the words are going to be lacking, the meaning is going to be lacking, the way in which we want to be actually responding to a situation, not reacting to it, is lacking, right? We're merely, and we're not thinking. I mean, the brain is actually shrinking. I was talking about this with another person yesterday as well, is that when we don't use a part of our bodies, it atrophies.
Correct.
And when we don't use our brain, it shrinks. And, this guy was so funny. He goes, I think we should find out if there've been brain studies on the younger generations to see if they're the thinking part of their cerebral cortex is actually smaller, right? Because we're training our people, younger generations as they're coming along, just to react. It's like half the time when we're watching Netflix or something and my daughter was trying to flip through to see what we all want to watch, I don't know how she's taking in the information to discern that she doesn't want to watch a show, because she is scrolling through that stuff. It's a blur. I can't even see what is, much less what it's about. And I'm like, how do you, there is no way we can process that. And so some people say the kids are learning how to process faster. I don't agree with that. they may be learning how to put certain connections, but they're very superficial. And that's why I think we see more reactive types of person. It's about youth. Yes, we're more reactive when we're youthful because it's that passionate, like it's all about me. But I think on top of that, we've also, these kids are in a now generation, you know, ever since the internet started to become the thing and they're plugged into absolutely everything all the time, everything's being fed to them. They don't have to think. They don't have to, you know, it's like it was just Google it. Don't think about it. Just ask.
But they don't even Google it. They go, like, gosh, you guys got your encyclopedia, your Google. Why don't you go ask it? Right.
Or I don't care. Like if it makes them think, they don't want to do it. And I'm not trying to slight the kids or the younger generations. What I'm saying is we're all responsible for creating this.
They do, and they do other things better than we do. So it's a balance. It's you know,
it's a balance, but I don't know if we're going to be on this topic. It's a concern because when we start to see trends, you know, we coddle the kids that they're not supposed to fall down and get hurt. You know, do you know where the brain actually expands and where learning happens is in challenge?
Correct.
Right? It expands most during challenging times. When we're in ease all the time, the brain doesn't expand. And so this is the thing that I think we need to look at, is that if we are trying to do everything we can to dismiss, distract from, or, you know, otherwise, you know, make it a cultural responsibility to take out, to create safetyism everywhere, to take out the challenges. You know, what are we doing ultimately down the road to our culture and civilization?
Failure.
Setting ourselves up for failure.
Yeah.
Big time.
Sis, look, this, I don't know, but I know you are. So for those of you who watch, you've been watching us. So we'll pop in. I'll pop in with questions and then Tracy translates, right? She's the translator here, and then I'll come with something. But I tell you, there are the comments are coming in, so I got to bring in these comments. They are mic dropping hot. So Bill goes, we have watered down our patience and our language. Heather goes, we often get in trouble because we're trying to be polite instead of authentic. We're talking about the replies of I'm sorry and it's okay. I think, Heather, again, I think it's trained response for politeness. Moreover, Bill goes, our responses have changed to, oh my gosh, and LOLs. So instead of we were going
and gifts.
That is so true. Watered down. And then Heather goes, might be an extreme situation, but how many girls and women are assaulted because they are being polite at first to the aggressor? I am guessing a lot. So business is tricky because you need to be polite. So I'm gonna just that piece about extreme situations. I know it's not extreme. It's not extreme. I think it's reality. How many girls or women are assaulted because they are being polite? I say, you know, I tell my wife, I go, gosh, it's so good to be the goat in the room. You know, goats in the room. Goat doesn't care. It just goes, ah, ah. You know, when something's happening, it goes, ah. So I say, honey, and I told her, I got to tell my daughter this because our conversation was about this. I remember when we were younger, we were sitting, I had all my friends were all there hanging out, and Verlin was next to me. And I will put my hand under the table and I will be tickling her and she's going. and then I have a straight face. Now this is similar to what Heather's talking. I'll have a straight face and just tickle, you know, go down behind her legs and tickle, and she, and then the people looking at her like, gosh, something's crazy. Instead, I told her, honey, why didn't you just say, Wulwyn Porte, move your hands from touching my legs? And I would be the one embarrassed and I go, oh, I'm sorry. That's what politeness does. It puts you in this uncanny position of,
Oh my God, that is
And
classic.
you look so crazy instead of saying, excuse me, can you stop doing what you're doing? Because you know what you're doing? You're embarrassing me. Because we don't want to embarrass, because we don't want to come in and tell somebody, we will go and take the brunt and grunt of everything and let other people, and not that I care about what other people are thinking. Why should I be the one going, I just let it out. Stop doing what you're doing because I don't like it.
That is so true. That goat, that's the perfect visual for it too. Just go ahead and let it out.
Got it out.
That's brilliant. It's brilliant. That is, and I always say there's a difference between nice and kind. I don't subscribe to be nice. I subscribe to be kind. And to me, the difference is nice is doing what you just explained that Verlin is. She's being nice is to not, point you out in the crowd. And not try to upset the apple cart. Kind is being honest. The kind thing to do is to have you take responsibility for the fact that you're bothering the heck out of her. It's just like, I need you to stop doing that. Yes. Like I am being honest. Like that's what's being kind to the relationship. When we pretend to put up with things that we don't like, again, when I hear husbands or wives, depending on whether my client is a male or a female, talking about things that are going on at home. And then they're just like, but it's okay. I'm like, that is not being kind to your relationship.
It's not.
It's not being kind to yourself, right? So it's dishonoring yourself. And where we dishonor ourselves, we dishonor others and that relationship. I think we really do need to think about this difference between, again, make that clarification between nice and kind, because clarity is kindness to me. When I'm clear as to where I stand, where I'm coming from, what's okay, what isn't okay, and I'm open to hear that from you. I mean, how can I have a transparent relationship if I'm not, also inviting you to be equally kind?
Yes. Yeah.
And I think if we strive more to be kind with one another than nice, I think there's a lot of things that are going to improve. And I actually see that that's something, as you'll appreciate this. I actually took a picture and I'm putting it on my Instagram and Facebook this week. But it's a local church that I always drive by every time I leave my community. And it's a Baptist church, and they have the best stuff on their front boards.
Correct.
Oh, the best stuff. Always have the best stuff. I'm like, I really love it. And the recent one is love thy neighbor isn't advice. It's a commandment. Ooh. So how do we best love thy neighbor? It's not by being nice, putting up with stuff that's not okay, saying things we don't mean, avoiding things that we know we need to address, not to upset the apple cart. That's not loving ourselves or our neighbor, right? Being kind, we have to be, to truly love, we have to be kind. We can't be nice.
Yes.
So
yes,
that's my 2 cents on that.
Words. So words. I'm studying, meditating this for a couple mornings, and I'm here and I see this in the Bible. It goes, be eager for nothing and be with patience. Be eager with patience. And I go, gosh, that sounds like an oxymoron. That sounds like you're telling me to do something and not do, but no, it's not. Because I took my time to read and say, look, let me define eager. And I mistook eagerness with anxiety, with being anxious. Because anxious is the negative of eager. So I can be eager to come every other Wednesday to come and talk with Traci because, oh my goodness, and I'll be patient for it. I'm not anxious to come and talk to Traci because my anxiety is for something negative. So where it says be anxious for nothing, but with prayer and supplication make it known, I go, so I can be eager for this thing that's going to happen. It's not anxiety because I know my eagerness is going to do. So you see how the play with the words, because we're talking about words the past few seconds, it's understanding the words and processing it that made me come to the realization that, oh my goodness, I can be eager, but I cannot be anxious.
Yeah, it's excited, right? Because I mean, excitement and anxiety are processed the same in the body, right? Process exactly the same, process through the systems of the body the same. It's the brain that tells us which meaning we give it, right? So we can be startled by something and we can tell ourselves, oh, that was exciting, like going down a roller coaster, like I love it, I'm going to do it again, we're telling ourselves a story that's exciting. But another person could try that for the first time and tell themselves a story that was the worst, scariest, most anxiety driven experience. I am never doing that again. Right? Same trigger, same experience, different story, different meaning. Right? So, and the body is processing all of, that what happens when we get into that state the same, regardless of whether we're excited and loving it or anxious and hating it.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think the point that I see as well with this is, and I do this a lot of times when I have people get very clear on their vision. What do you want? Know what you want and let go of the how. We're so conditioned to productivity and how am I going to make it happen? How am I going to make it happen? When am I going to make it happen? And that's what causes the impatience. And I know impatience is a natural inborn trait with me as a visionary. I'm impatient constantly. But I tend to look at it more as because I already see the outcome so clearly.
Yes.
And I want to experience that. Like, here's an uncomfortable gap, and I know where this could be. And so the impatience. So working on it's just because I'm so excited for filling this gap and having this thing better somehow, that's the piece. But I think what I've come to learn to be better at is simply holding the vision. My job isn't to push it forward. I used to think that. I used to think I see things and I need to convince and push people over there to that because I hate to say it, much of the time I was right, but my approach was not so good.
Correct.
Right. Correct. And besides, it's not about, back to what you said, not about being right. Right. It's about, if we're being given a vision, if we're being able to see something with clarity, it's about invitation. How do we invite? Well, there's a variety of different ways we can do that. I'm choosing to do it more, peacefully. To your point of peace, is I'm not giving up. Like, it's a dog with a bone. I see that vision. I know it's possible. I know it's potential. Right. Just like Roger Bannister knew the potential of running faster than a 4-minute mile. Right. And he did it because he held that vision first. I mean, we're not going to try for something that we don't think has potential. So we have that, I hold that vision, and then I speak, I pour into the vision. I speak to the vision. Perfect. I share I convey the vision, right? I invite people to see what I see.
You cast it. Yeah.
Right. That I was like, as soon as I made that shift early in my coaching career, it changed so much in my life.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, I went from being the person feeling like I had to push the world up the hill. Again, my perception, not necessarily what I was here to do.
Yeah.
To really just do you, boo, and then just invite people. And if people, and that was the other thing, letting go of whether people come or not. That wasn't a reflection on me, right? Or my vision.
Yeah. Yeah. You, as you were talking about I just say for people coming or not coming, there are 8 billion people here. I only need to reach 0.00001% of that. That's going to be a whole lot for me to make a living off. As you were talking, I got a breakthrough, and the breakthrough was, it was about processing. When the world, so we're in America, even in the world, people are in the fast lane, and they're in the fast lane. Something just jumped to where. Please help me. Let me say this. So I
went catcher's mitt on, man.
I know. I went to Wells Fargo yesterday. There's this older gentleman. He's walking with his wife. He has a cane. They are seasoned, really, really seasoned. He's a vet and a veteran. He comes down slowly. He walks. Her wife gets down off the curb. She waits. She holds his hand. He holds her hand for her to get down the curb. She leaves him there and gets to the car door and waits. He struggles and he comes down to hold the hood of the car to break his, he wasn't falling, but just to brace himself. He gets there, he walks over, he goes to her, he opens the door, she sits, he gets to the door, he kisses her, and then he closes the door and goes around. Now she looks at me, I go, yay, girl, yay, yay. And she looks at me like, what is this dude doing? So I put my window down and tell the guy, hey man, that's the way to do it. Yeah, man, that's how we take care of our women. And then he looks at me, he says, yeah, for the 7 years of marriage, you always treat them like the first day you met them. And I go, wow. So I come home to relay the question to the story to Verlin, and Verlin, but instead of relaying that story, I say, oh, an older gentleman schooled me today. And she goes, what? I say, yeah. I said, we were walking towards the door. I changed the story completely. We're walking towards the door and I was in haste. And in my haste, I told him, excuse me, sir. And then he took his cane, honey, and stopped me. And I said, why are you stopping me? And he looked at me and said, son, where are you rushing to? And I go, I have to. And he said to me, honey, do you see where you're rushing? You're rushing to walking with a king. So take your time in life. And then he started, and she goes, really? And I go, no, that didn't happen. But I liked that story, honey, because it allows me to process that where am I really rushing to in life? Where am I rushing to go and walk with the king? No. So now keep that story. Keep that story. Let's talk about this part about processing the breakthrough. You see how we're in a fast world, and you will see how it connects. Wow. Gosh, I'm not this good. That's not me. So you see how we're in a fast world. Within this fast world, the fast world is waiting for a response from Traci, from Wulwyn, from Heather, from Bill, for whatever they're doing. And they aren't allowing us to process. And they just want us to come back with something. And that's where we come with, oh, I'm sorry, or it's okay. No, 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 no. Don't allow the world to pressure you into replying into something that you don't want to reply the way you're replying. So don't rush to run to walk with the king. Process it and let them be, what's your reply?
Oh, that's beautiful. And that's very timely. I'm actually hearing
And
that
then
exact
you
message.
reply. And then you reply with your
Yeah.
authentic self on your own time and tell them, hey, give me a chance. I'm processing. And then when you reply, they would get the aha like, oh, wow, it's going to bless them, your reply that you have processed. Because if you do the knee jerk would cause animosity, may cause a problem in the communication, may just do something that just isn't right. The knee.
Well, and communicate where you are. Like I have this conversation all the time with visionaries. I had a visionary a couple of weeks ago, and she said, I can't believe this person, he's one of her employees. She should know to do this and that. I said, well, have you talked to her about it? And she started to say, well, I said, have you told her that explicitly?
Mm.
Well, I think maybe I haven't. Right? We're always 10 steps ahead. So we're like, why are people where we are?
Right.
How come they can't see what I can see? I'm like, you got the 40,000-foot view, honey. They're in the trenches.
Wow.
Like you kind of got to remember. And because the other thing that when we decide to take time to process, which I am 100% on board and agree with you, we also need to communicate that, because I've had people, you're asking for something and they're processing, but they don't communicate that. So you don't know if they got your email. You don't
Mm,
know if they forgot about you. Yes, take time to process, but make sure you're communicating,
correct.
that's a great question. Or I know that when do you need this by? I'm going to take a little bit of time to decide my answer, but I'll be
Mm,
sure to get back to you Wednesday. That's when you need the answer or whatever. Like communicate the
yes.
processing time. Because I also
Mm,
know there's people in my life who they're still processing. I haven't heard from them like 15 years later. Like, I mean, I'm guessing you're not processing at this point. You just forgot about me.
oh my goodness, that was a good one.
And I keep telling, just to your point, trying to give people the benefit of the doubt. Well, they just need time to figure out their lives. Why am I the one communicating this to me? I asked you a question 15 years ago and you never got back to me.
that was a good one. That was a good one. They're still processing. Oh my goodness. Oh, so on a lighter note, I saw a picture of you clicking your heels. Was that what that picture was? Was that a jump in the air
Clicking
and
my
clicking the
heels.
heels?
What was
What
going on?
was that the picture with you jumping and clicking your
Oh,
heels?
clicking my heels. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That was one of my happy, joyful dances. Yeah, that was so my photographer.
that was awesome.
Isn't that fun?
That
Well, I
was
had
that
one friend
was
of mine. He was so funny. He saw that picture and he goes, I'm just impressed you didn't break your neck with those heels when you landed. Like, thanks.
so people were talking about a picture that Traci had on her Instagram, I think, with her jumping, and she's in mid-air, y'all. She's got some air. You got roughly a foot and a half under you. You're up in
I
that
was
air,
probably with some heels on.
they say white men then can't jump, but white women can.
I think we need to make a second go round to that movie.
Well,
White women can
yeah,
jump.
yeah, but no,
True.
that was beautiful. Heather has, and let's come back to that, please. Heather has, Daddy always said, don't just communicate, over communicate. And mom and dad have been married over 50 years. They must
Mm.
know that. Wow, wow,
Wow, that's beautiful. Thank you, Heather.
isn't that
Kudos to
isn't
your parents.
that
They figured something out.
correct? Correct.
Well, and I think that is, as much as people say, oh, that's luck, that's, oh, isn't that great? It's I
It
really
worked at it.
I really think we can lean in more to that advice. There's a reason we're like, that's great. I mean, but are we processing that and saying, how can I start to create that more in my life?
Yes.
Because I know that. So it was interesting when my husband and I got married. We got married in Quebec City,
Okay.
and we had the dinner right afterwards, after the wedding. Like we had the wedding, and then we had a little cocktail party, and then we surprised all of our guests by renting all of the carriages in Quebec City, Canada, where we were married, and had them come downstairs, change their clothes from the wedding attire, and come downstairs, and there was a circular drive in front of the hotel, and
Mm-hmm.
all these dressed up horses and buggies were all
Gotcha.
around and then took a tour of the downtown area and came back, and then people had some rest time, then we had dinner. And the hotel had a revolving restaurant, which you have to be careful if you have a purse or something and you put it in the window and it revolves. You might go find your stuff and it's not there. Yeah, we didn't learn. They remind you of that. But we were set up kind of in the back, but it's an open restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
And we were kind of on the side, but we still were open to the rest of the public, who was dining there. And it just so happened that there was a couple who had been married 50 years,
Mm-hmm.
celebrating their anniversary, that they were a
Mm-hmm.
couple tables down from our party.
Yeah.
And when everybody was getting up and doing toasts and everything, they were all listening in, and then they're like, well, so we're like, you guys just got married, but we've been married for 50 years. Like, we would love to say something if you're open to. So there's a video, and it's their advice
Oh
to
my
us
goodness.
as newlyweds, 50 years being married. And it was classic. It was absolutely fantastic. You couldn't have made that stuff up.
Mm.
And it was a lot of that kind of thing, communicating, treating each other as if it was the first date when you met.
Yes.
A lot of that is basically what they shared. And so it really is about taking the time to process and make that real for ourselves, and not just kind of nod and go, yeah, that's awesome, that sounds
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, you know, and I think it, it's for every relationship, not just our marriages, right? Because
Yes.
you know, so we just celebrated 21 years last week. And I said, where did 21 years go? And I think it's one day at a time. It's every engagement at a time. If you fall on your face, get up again. But more so in terms of the relationships that we have, the business relationships,
Mm.
the brothers, the sisterly ones, the just every single relationship we have, in order for it to grow from day one to 50 years, we have to communicate. We have to be authentic. We have to say, and I'm trying to tie it up, we have to tell them that it's not okay that you have me waiting here. Please don't do it again, man. I had other things to do. I'm not going to say I'm sorry when I'm not sorry. I think I am empathetic with you on this, but what it does, and allowing us to process and giving the other person the grace to process and communicate and not leave when they are truly processing, not like the people who you still 15 years waiting for, right? And not leave as they are about to communicate, which will alleviate the fact that the issue that when I left with a preconceived notion that you were blah, blah, and
Oh
blah,
yeah, that's a great point. I've had
right?
that happen a number of times in my life where it's like I got
Correct.
tired of waiting because the person didn't communicate that they were processing. So I'm like, peace out. And then they're hurt because I left. It's like you abandoned me.
Yes, yes.
It's lack of communication, right?
Heather,
And
Heather, you got to drop off. I'm sorry for cutting you off, Tracy. Thank you so much for hanging with us. Thank you, thank you, thank you. See you next 2 weeks, please. Tracy, go ahead. I'm sorry.
that's okay. I appreciate you giving time to the people who come. I think it's important, you
Yes.
know, so it is that I think. But the other thing too, is you said when you were talking, I started thinking, it's, you know, if you want a 50-year engagement with someone, you know, so
Mhm.
these relationships that endure, you want ones that are actually good and healthy.
Mm.
So when you're not being honest with people and you are conveying and inviting them to treat you poorly, you've got a 50-year relationship where you've got people treating you poorly because you're not communicating where you're really coming from. So, you know, I've realized, I'm like, it isn't about, they've always said this, it isn't about the quantity of friends and relationships you have, it's about the quality. And
Mm.
quality starts with us, you know, our engagement. How
Mm.
much am I pouring into this relationship? Am I communicating? I mean, when that person is acting a certain way that I don't like, first thing I stop and say is, have I communicated that? Have I communicated how I feel about that? Have I asked them where they're coming from? You know, I'm just telling the story based on being the recipient of this behavior.
Mm.
But am I actually doing everything I can from a communicative standpoint to rectify the situation in some way? What am I pouring into this? Am I just expecting it to be a certain way and then getting frustrated when it isn't? Because I
Wow.
know I did that a lot when I was, especially in romantic relationships. It's like, this doesn't feel good. I don't like this, you know, and I would maybe hold on for a little bit because I'm very loyal, but I would be
Mm.
seething
Yeah.
underneath. And then it's like, oh, that, why am I keeping a relationship like that? I need
Mm.
to either try to do my part. And then if I'm doing my part and it still isn't getting better, okay, then I have decisions to make
Correct.
on whether I want to stay or not. But if I'm not doing everything and communicating everything that I need to do and communicate, then there's still work to be done,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
and just taking my ball and going home is not, I'm just going to end up taking that behavior into the next
The
relationships.
next game. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Wow, Tracy. Wow, Tracy. I got to say, this has been a beautiful hour with you. Just it has been, you know, there was a part in the conversation, you know, and I'm gonna do this, you know, we usually wrap up, we do a second wrap up after we get off where we tell each other what we went through during the conversation. But I think my wrap up here will be that part. There was a part that you were talking, and I just saw you were talking about words, and you said that it was not that they don't know words, but they don't give time to process, right? That astute snipe sniper ability you have to just get to the point, right? To the truth. I admire that, right? To get, truth cannot be, truth is already triangulated. Three things pointing to it that says, hey man, these things, this is true. You can't. And when you hear truth, it's just so amazing to hear truth. So thank you for bringing truth here. Thank you for I mean, when you were talking that and it hit me, I was like, gosh, I need to just have two words, two words every time and say, okay, Traci, here are two words. What do you think about these two words? Oh, that's what I just thought about. So thank you so much for bringing this to this eavesdrop. Oof, thank you.
Well, you're welcome. And thank you for acknowledging that. I have to say that it's been a real humbling week for me, because simply out of the blue, I've had, and I would include what you just said as one of the instances, 4 separate occasions in which people took their time to say, I mean, the other 3 occasions, they started off with, I've been thinking about you this week. And I've been thinking about your impact in my life. And then explaining to me, what they felt was so beneficial about their relationship with me. And every single one of them also said, I've been thinking about you this week or today or whatever it was, and I miss you. And I miss you because of the impact you've made in my life and the value you are to me. And it's just, again, I mean, to me, that's always a humbling experience when people do that, because it's also acknowledging. And so we know it's like when we're shooting in the dark and we have no, I mean, we hopefully we're intentional enough where we feel aligned with our decisions and who we're showing up as being.
Correct.
But in reality, we kind of rely on people to mirror where we are in time and place and how they're experiencing us.
Yes.
So it's always nice to know that that intentionality is mirrored by people's, experience with you.
Correct.
And so anyway, thank you for that. I mean, those types of things mean so much to me. I mean, I'm thank you.
Hey.
And I likewise, we have no time left, but I do want to take a moment to appreciate your ability to bring the community into this. Every time we talk, I mean, you never forget the people who are watching. I mean, I can get sometimes so involved in what I'm saying in the conversation here.
Hey.
And you really do a great job of making sure that, it is a community conversation as much as possible. So I really want to honor that. I appreciate that.
It's a team. This, I think what we are displaying here, what we're modeling is the team effect, that I'm not good at one thing, you're not good at one thing, we're not good at everything, but we're the things that we're good at, we're bringing to the table, we're bringing in our sandboxes and create, right? I think what we're creating here, I'm thankful for it, I'm grateful for it, and I look forward to every 2 weeks coming in and hanging out with you. Hey, see you guys in the next 2 weeks. Y'all take care of yourself, Traci.
You too, Wulwyn.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.